Hello everyone, this is Roger. In this video, I will talk about the configuration settings in ZWCAD, in which I will introduce options, auxiliary drawing tools, how to reuse previous resources, and how to migrate configurations. First of all, I will introduce the options. Options are used to set the drafting profile, display, and other drawing variables. It has 8 tabs. In Open and Save tab, you can set the options related to the saving and opening files. You can set the default file format here, and you can turn on automatic save function to prevent file losses. In File tab, you can set the save path for different files. For example, you can set the path for the automatic save file. Let me walk you through some of the settings of these two tabs in ZWCAD. First, let's open Options. You can open Options by left-click ZWCAD icon on the top left corner, or find Options from the drop-down menu of Tools. Or you can input shortcut key OP to open Options. Click in Open and Save tab. From the drop-down menu of Default File Format on, you can select your preferred file format among DWG, DWT, or DXF. You can also choose different versions of these formats. Your ZWCAD drawings will save as the file format you selected in this drop-down menu. You can check Automatic Save box in File Safety Precaution to turn on Auto-Save function. Enter a number in the box below to set up the time between two autosaves. For example, if you set 10 minutes between saves, ZWCAD will automatically save your drawings every 10 minutes. The autosave file will be created with a default file extension. You can add the default file extension for autosave file in the box below. You can check the box only Save Current Doc if you want to autosave current drawing only when you have multiple drawings opened. You may also check the box Create a backup copy with each save, so that ZWCAD will create a backup copy with file extension .bak every time it saves the file. If you click on File tab, here you can manage the paths for different files. On the right side of the window, you will find some options to browse the path for the file, or to erase the path, etc. For example, click in Automatic Save File Location and select the file path. We can erase the path. To give it a new path, click Browse to browse a new path and attach on it. The next tab is Display. In this tab, you can set display options for window elements, layout elements, crosshair size, display resolution, display performance, fading intensity of reference add, and so on. You can set options related to window elements in the drawing area, including the color scheme for ZWCAD interface, drawing window colors, and the font for the command line. You can also set options related to the layout space and display resolution for arc and circle smoothness. In display performance, there are options to improve drawing experience or display performance, and you also got the opportunity to adjust your crosshair size in the Display tab. Now, let's go to ZWCAD to take a look at the display settings. Let me input shortcut key OP to open Options first. In the Display tab, you can see there are window elements, layout elements, display resolution, display performance, and crosshair size. In window elements, you are able to switch your color scheme between light and dark from the drop-down menu. And if you click in Color in window elements, you are able to set color for each context individually. For example, let me set black to 2D model space to see what happens. Now, our model space switched to a black color background. Next, let me click in Font in Display tab to show you how to change font in command line. You can select different fonts from the font menu as well as font style and sizes from this window. Let me select Arial, narrow below for our font style and size 18. Click OK. You can see the font changed in command line. In Layout Elements, you are able to set display options related to the layout space. You can uncheck Display Printable Area to remove the dashed line, which indicates the printable area. You can uncheck Display Paper Shadow to remove the shadow of the paper in layout space. And you can uncheck Display Paper Background to remove the background of the layout space. In Display Resolution, you can set the value for arc and circle smoothness. A larger value provides smoother display for arc and circle. For example, the circle in model space looks very sharp because of the small value set for arc and circle smoothness. If I change the value to 1000 and click OK to apply it, you can see the circle looks much more smooth compared to a small value. In Display Performance, you can control a couple of display-related settings. When pan and zoom with raster image PDF underlay is checked, ZWCAD will display the raster image and PDF attached in the drawing during moving and zooming to provide better display. If you uncheck these options, the attached image and PDF will not be displayed during moving and zooming for better performance. Apply solid fill control whether to fill the objects like white polylines, 2D solids, and hatch patterns. If you uncheck this option, you won't be able to create objects with solid fill. And if you check the box for smooth line display, ZWCAD will turn on anti-aliases to provide smoother display for all the lines. In Display tab, you can also adjust the size of the crosshair. To adjust the crosshair size, drag the bar to the right for a larger value, or drag the bar to the left for a smaller value. A larger value, for example, 50, gives you a larger crosshair. We have finished some settings for display. Now, let's go ahead to the Drafting tab. In the Drafting tab, you can set such options for Smart Select, Object Snap, Smart Track. Adjust the sizes of Smart Snap marker as well as aperture to desired sizes. And the next tab is Selection tab, where you can set relevant options of object selections. You are able to adjust the size of your pick box, and you can change the size for grip. Let me show you the settings we just went through. Before we go into the Selection tab, I would like to show you how to change Smart Snap marker size, as well as the aperture size first in the Drafting tab. We can input shortcut key OP to open options, and click into Drafting tab. In this tab, there are adjustable bars for Smart Snap marker size and aperture size. Drag the bar for Smart Snap marker size to the right will give a larger marker to Smart Select. Let's click OK to see. Now we can see that the marker for Smart Snap gets bigger when executing the command. Let's go back to the Drafting tab and adjust the size for aperture. I will drag the bar to the right to set a larger aperture size first. The Smart Snap marker appears when I am approaching the object, indicates that my mouse has already captured the endpoint of the object. If I go back to adjust the aperture size and give it a smaller size, let's click OK to see the difference. This time, because I set smaller size for aperture, I have to move my mouse very close to the object in order to capture the endpoint. Next, let's try some selection options. In this tab, we will go through pickbox size, grid size, and area selection effect. First, let me show you what area effect setting does. We can click Area Effect setting in Area Selection Effect to open Visual Effect settings. In this window, we can check or uncheck the box for Indicate Selection Area to set whether to indicate selection area with colors. You can see the preview window on the right. There are options to change colors for window selection as well as crossing selection from the drop-down menu. Let me change the window selection to red and crossing selection to yellow. Now you can see that the visual effect changed from the preview window. Let's adjust the opacity for the selection area too from below adjustable bar. Click OK. Now we have our newly set visual effect for our area selection. Let's go back to Selection tab to adjust the size for the pegboard. Drag to the left side of the bar for pegboard size will give the pegboard a smaller size. As you can see now, the pegboard for the mouse gets very small. And if we drag the bar to the right side to make it bigger, now the pegboard gets very big. We can adjust the size for the grid tool. Drag the bar to the left so the grid gets small. And drag the bar to the right. Now the grid gets very big when the object is selected. There are two options in Area Selection Effect that I would like to show you. The first one is to uncheck when a command is active. When this option is unchecked, for example, if I activate the trim command, there's no visual effect when I move my mouse past through the object. If I go back to check the box for this option, and I activate the trim command again and move my mouse to the object, the object becomes dashed, indicating that my mouse is pointing on the object. Similar to this option, if we uncheck when no command is active in Area Selection Effect, when my mouse is pointing on the object with no command is activating, there's no visual effect. And if I go back to check the option and click OK, the object has dashed visual effect when my mouse pointing on it with no command is activating. Now let's go ahead to the Profiles tab. Here you can export current profiles, import existing profiles, or reset current profiles to default settings. The following profile settings are saved in your current profile and can be exported as an ARG file, which are default search and project file paths, template file locations, default line type and hatch pattern line, default line type and hatch pattern files, default printer settings, and tool palette display settings. In ZWCAD, if you have your own customized profile, you can select your profile and click Export to export your profile as .arg file. Open another ZWCAD and go to Options, Profiles tab. You can click Import to import your customized profiles. In the last tab is Plot. You can set default plot settings, such as default output device, file location, plot style in Plot tab. First, you can choose to use default output device from the drop-down menu, or use the last successful plot setting, or configure a new plotter in default plot settings for new layouts. Then, you can set the default location for plotting in Plot to File. Plotted file will be saved to this path by default. Lastly, you can choose the default plot style from the drop-down menu, or add a new plot style from the plot style table in default plot style behavior for new drawings. Now, we move to the second chapter, which is Auxiliary Drawing Tools. In this chapter, we will go through some drafting settings. In drafting settings, you can specify the settings of mode of snap, grip, polar tracking, object snap, dynamic input, and selection circling. In Snap and Grid tab, you are able to turn on Grid Snap and specify the snap spacing on X-Y axis. You are able to turn on Grid Display and customize the grid spacing. The next tab is Object Snap, which you can turn on or off both Object Snap and Object Snap Tracking. In Object Snap modes, you can check the snap options you want. ZWCAD will only select the points as you select it. Object Snap Tracking settings is in Polar Tracking tab. You are able to switch Object Snap Tracking between track orthogonally only and track using all polar angle settings. You can turn on Polar Tracking on this tab to start tracking the set angle while drawing. The increment angle for polar tracking can be set in this tab from the drop-down menu in Polar Angle Settings. Let's go to ZWCAD to see how to set up drafting settings. First, we can input shortcut key DS to open drafting settings. In the first tab, which is Snap and Grid, we can find the settings for Snap. Specify X spacing and Y spacing for Snap. Check the box equal X and Y spacing if you want to have equal X spacing and Y spacing, so that when you change X spacing value, Y spacing value changes too. Check the box Snap On, then click OK. Now, when I draw a line in model space, the mouse selects every 15 units up and down. As I have specified 15 for both X spacing and Y spacing. Let's go back to drafting settings. On the right of Snap, there are settings for grid. Here you can adjust the arrangement of the grid lines. You can specify the grid lines, for example, 15 X spacing and 20 Y spacing, and set major line every 10 units. Then click OK and see. Now all the grid lines updated as what I have modified it. And we can also turn off the grid line if we uncheck the box for Grid On. Now the grid lines are gone. The next tab is Object Snap. Here we can turn on Object Snap by checking the box Object Snap On. Then we can select the points we want to snap by checking each of them. For example, if I select only the midpoint and click OK, it will not select the endpoint or other points except for the midpoint are selected while in a command. If I want to snap other points while in a command, I can right-click the mouse while in a command and select Snap Overrides. There are options for temporary object snap. For example, I choose endpoints. Now, I'm able to snap the endpoints while in command, even though I didn't select endpoints in drafting settings. In Object Snap tab, we can also check the box Object Snap Tracking On to turn it on. The settings for Object Snap Tracking are under Polar Tracking tab. You can find Object Snap Tracking settings on the right of the Polar Tracking tab. You can choose whether to track orthogonally only or track using all polar angle settings. The settings for polar angle are on the left of this tab. We can first to turn on polar tracking by checking the box Polar Tracking On. You can choose preset increment angle from the drop-down menu. Here I choose 45. You can also add additional angles for polar tracking by checking additional angles. Then click New to add angles. Let's put 22 to see. After finishing settings, click OK. Let's try Line command. Now we have polar tracking on 22 degrees and 45 degrees. Now let's move to Dynamic Input tab. You can enable pointer input, dimension input, or dynamic prompts by checking the box of each in this tab. And in the last tab, which is Selection Circling, you can specify whether to display list box when there are overlapping objects by checking the box for Allow Selection Circling. Let's go back to ZWCAD to try some dynamic input settings. In dynamic input, if you check Enable Dimension Input when possible, it will show the dimension information, for example, the length of the line and the angle while drawing the line. You can input a number to draw a specified line with this length, and press Tab to set the angle of the line. And if I uncheck these options and go back to draw the line again, ZWCAD will not show the dimension information while in command. We can also check the box for dynamic prompts. If dynamic prompt is checked, ZWCAD will prompt specify the first point and specify the next point, or while drawing the line. If I uncheck dynamic prompts, it will no longer prompt such information while in command. And in the last tab, which is Selection Circling, you can specify whether to display list box when there are overlapping objects by checking the box for Allow Selection Circling. After checking these options, when you move your mouse to the overlapping objects, there will be rectangular boxes indicate that there are overlapping objects here. You can click on the object and the selection set window will pop up to show all the overlapping objects, and you can select the overlapping objects individually, for example, the line only, by clicking on the line from this window. We have gone through some useful drafting settings. Now, let's talk about some inquiry commands. Inquiry commands provide different measure tools for quick measurements. There are tools like distance to measure length, radius measurement, angle measurement, area measurement, mesh properties, list, and ID points for point coordinates. Let's go back to ZWCAD to see how to use these tools. You can find inquiry commands from the tools on the menu, then find Inquiry. Or you can find these commands from the tools on the ribbon, and they will be under Utility Tools, where you can find them from the drop-down menu. There is shortcut key for inquiry commands too. For example, I can input MEA to activate different options. I can select distance from this option to quickly measure the length of the rectangle. The result will be shown on the command line. Now, let me introduce a useful drawing tool called Design Center. Design Center can access and reuse drawing contents for other ZWG files through Preview window. In Design Center, you can browse your ZWG file by folders and draw drawing contents like blocks from another ZWG files directly into your model space. Next is another useful drawing tool called Tool Palettes. Tool palettes can organize, share, and place commands, blocks, and other tools. They are ready-to-use blocks within each palette. You can drop them directly into model space to use them, or you can add your own blocks here to quickly reuse by dragging them from tool palettes. Let's open ZWCAD to try them. First, let me open Design Center. Design Center can be opened from Tools on the menu and under Palettes. You will find Design Center here, or you can open it from Tools on the ribbon. I prefer to use shortcut key DC to open Design Center, which will be a lot faster. In Design Center, you can use the Preview menu from the left to browse your files. On the right side, there are different kinds of material you can reuse from the file selected. For example, we can click in Blocks to see. Design Center can read all blocks within the selected file. Blocks from that file can be drawn directly from Design Center into your current drawing. Another tool which we mentioned earlier is the tool palettes. Tool palettes can be opened through Tools, Palettes. Then you can see tool palettes here. Similar to Design Center, you can also find tool palettes in Tools on the ribbon. The shortcut key for tool palettes is TP. Right-click the title bar of tool palettes provides opportunity to the window. You can choose Auto Hide, so it will only expand when you move your mouse to the palettes. There are different palettes provided on the right by default. You can right-click the palettes to customize the palettes or create a new palette. There are tools within each palette. You can drop them directly into model space to use them, or you can right-click them to add a block. You can also customize commands, which will open the customized user interface, where you can drag and add additional commands into your tool palettes. You can also export or import your tool palette. Right-click Tool Palettes, go to Customize Palette. Here you can select the palette which you wish to export. Right-click Select Palette and choose the Export. You can then choose a path to save your exported file as .stp. Now, we opened ZWCAD by default, and in the Customize palette, we can right-click any place to choose Import. Browse the .stp file to import your palette. We have gone through some important option settings, drafting settings, and some useful tools. Now, I would like to introduce how to reuse previous resources in ZWCAD. Previous resources can be imported into ZWCAD, including shortcut keys, line types, hatch patterns, fonts, block styles, block library. First, find the file location where ZWCAD has been installed on before setting up and reuse previous resources on ZWCAD. You can right-click ZWCAD icon on your desktop shortcut and select Properties. Click Open File Location in Shortcut tab in Properties to open ZWCAD folder. If you want to keep previous shortcut commands and reuse them in ZWCAD, you can rename your previous .pgp file to zwcad.pgp and replace it into the support folder in your desired language version under User Data Cache folder. For example, support folder in en-us folder in User Data Cache folder in ZWCAD 2022 folder. To keep previous line type in ZWCAD, you will need to rename your previous line type files as zwcad.lin and zwcadiso.lin. Then copy and replace them into the support folder as we mentioned. And if you want to keep previous hatch pattern in ZWCAD, you need to rename previous hatch pattern files as zwcad.pat and zwcadiso.pat. Then copy and replace them into the same support folder. You can install fonts, including previous fonts, into ZWCAD by copying all the fonts and paste them into the fonts folder in ZWCAD folder. You can also find your previous fonts files if you exported your previous drawing with eTransmit command. Then you can unzip your drawing package and copy the font files into font folder in ZWCAD folder. If you want to change and replace the font mapping file, you can copy FMP file from previous CAD folder and rename it as zwcad.fmp, then paste it into the support folder in User Data Cache folder under ZWCAD folder. You can also reuse previous block styles by copying your CTB or STB files into Print Style folder in User Data Cache folder under ZWCAD folder. As we went through different kinds of resources we can reuse in ZWCAD, I want to bring up Design Center again, though I have mentioned this tool earlier. Design Center is a useful tool to browse, manage, and drop files in ZWCAD. With Design Center, you can easily browse previous file and open blocks within that file to drop and reuse blocks or other contents in ZWCAD. We have gone through how to reuse previous resources in ZWCAD. Now, let's learn more about how to migrate configurations in ZWCAD. ZWCAD provides migrate settings from earlier version too, so your previous configuration of ZWCAD can be migrated into a newer version within the same computer with this tool. You can find migrate settings from early version in your Windows Start menu. Browse your ZWCAD folder in Start menu, then click to open Migrate Custom Settings. In the opened window, you can select which previous version of ZWCAD you want to migrate from the drop-down menu. Here you can only select the ZWCAD version installed in the same computer. After selecting previous ZWCAD version, you can check below for which settings you wanted to migrate from. Then click OK to start migration. If you want to migrate settings for another computer, you can use Export ZWCAD Settings tool and import ZWCAD Settings tool located in ZWCAD folder in your Windows Start menu. First, you need to export your ZWCAD settings on previous computer. Then, you can copy the exported file from previous computer to your new computer. Finally, you can import the exported file from another computer with Import ZWCAD Settings tool on your new computer. Import tool can only import settings of the same version of ZWCAD. If you have an older version of ZWCAD installed on your previous computer, you need to download and install a newer version of ZWCAD on your previous computer that matches the same version as your new computer, and use Migrate Settings from earlier version too before you export your ZWCAD settings. Only the same language versions of ZWCAD can be migrated. You cannot migrate settings from an English to a Chinese version of ZWCAD, and you cannot migrate settings from ZWCAD to ZWCAD Mechanical. Let's try to migrate settings between ZWCAD. In this opened ZWCAD 2022, we have the customized CUI with two bars. Now, let's migrate this CUI into ZWCAD 2023. First, you can find Migrate Settings from earlier version from the Start menu. Then choose the version you need to migrate from the drop-down menu. And you can choose the settings you want to migrate into current version. For example, we can choose CUIX and click OK. The migration will start. Click OK when it is finished. Now, let's open ZWCAD 2023 and see. The toolbars are now migrated into ZWCAD 2023. Settings can be migrated between the same version as well. This is useful to migrate your ZWCAD settings between two computers. First, find Export ZWCAD 2022 settings in Start menu. All the settings will be compressed in a zip file. You can import this file to another computer with the same ZWCAD version to restore the working environment. Now, we switch to a different computer and find Import ZWCAD 2022 settings in Start menu. Click to open this tool will allow you to browse the zip file exported from earlier. Select the exported zip file. Import tool will start the process. Click OK to finish. Now, we have finished configuration Thank you for watching.